I have a confession to make. I lied to you guys yesterday. I dramatically undersold how fast I was mapping and actually how much divines per hour I was making with my Elk and Go strategy. This is a very big struggle with being a content creator for Path of Exile. Everyone has different expectations and ways that they play games. The most believable and responsible thing to do is really to undersell things as much as possible. In the video yesterday, I said that I did my maps in 2.5 minutes per, which would give me about 3 divines per hour. The thing is, I actually did my maps in about 1 to 1.5 minutes. But since most people probably don't run their maps that quickly, that number obviously just wouldn't apply to most people. So I inflated that number for how long the maps would take to try to make it a little bit more realistic for the average player. With that said, I still had a couple comments from people saying 2.5 minutes, that sounds a little fast. And I want to share with you guys some beginner to intermediate tips for getting your mapping a lot faster, a lot more efficient, and really being able to take a lot more advantage of the time that you spend playing the game. So if you can be in and out of your maps in 90 seconds, you can turn those 3 divines into closer to 5 to 6 divines per hour, even for just a baseline Elk and Go. Not to mention if you're doing other content. So yeah, let's get started. All right, number one thing, of course, is to have a decent build. And what do I mean by that? I mean a build that has at least 30 to 40 or more % movement speed. You're able to kill all of the monsters on the map pretty comfortably. You can kill the map boss in about 10 seconds or less at the very worst. And you're able to clear the whole screen in about 1 to 2 seconds absolute max. Even better is if you can clear beyond that one screen. And ideally on top of that is pressing 1, maybe 2 buttons absolute max. Now this can vary absolutely greatly. You could have a focused mapping build. You know, you can have the outliers like Tornado Shot or an Auto Bomber that has gigantic prolif, full explodey and all that type of stuff. But I just mean something along the lines of like a nice comfortable build like Bane Occultist, or even my Lightning Tendrils Ignite build here, which in my opinion is just like really average baseline for just a solid mapping build. Now, obviously, if your build is entirely bossing focused or it's super niche in some other way, that's not going to apply. But I really think being able to shield charge or whirling blade into the middle of a new pack of monsters, pressing 1 button, blowing up the entire screen, is like a baseline for just like a really solid mapping build. We can do this by getting boots that have really good movement speed. You know, T1 is 35%, T0 Veiled is 42%. You can also get Synth boots with a 10% movement speed implicit, and you can get Synth or Eldritch boots that have even more movement speed on the implicit there. On top of that, you can get something like Onslaught with Onslaught effect, or even Run Haste, just to make your character a lot faster. And to me, all of that is just kind of like baseline, kind of like understood stuff. Kill more monsters, blow up more of the screen, and being able to run quickly. But something I think doesn't get talked about like almost ever in Path of Exile, and it's a thing I want to talk about more, is just the way that we actually interact with the game mechanically. Let me put myself on the left side of the screen here so you can see my keybinds. I think a really important thing when you're getting into mapping quickly is to be able to get into that flow state where it's just drop a map in and you're going, you're barely thinking, you know, you're like Netflix and map, you're just kind of just cruising. And really the most foundational part about that is how you move your character around on the screen. It can be very beneficial to just spend a little bit of time thinking about your keybinds and how you're going to do that, getting it into something where, you know, whenever you play some game or you do any kind of skill or activity, you know, you start to feel that level of mastery and it just becomes natural to the point, right, where your keybinds are your keybinds, right? For me, Flame Dash is always E no matter what. I could not play this game right now if Flame Dash was on any other key. And I think that's like the really most important thing here. So you can see with me, what I do is I have Shield Charge, and I also have Flame Dash here. With this character especially, you can see that Shield Charge is like not very fast. You know, Shield Charge has some clunky things where sometimes I just want to Flame Dash, and Shield Charge would be like really obnoxious and couldn't go anywhere, whereas Flame Dash can just kind of go. The thing about Flame Dash is if you haven't cast it for 0.5 seconds, the next one will be instant. So you really want to have this kind of flow where you're going to Flame Dash and then do something like Whirling Blades or Shield Charge. Flame Dash again, it's instant, it's really, really fast. So that's just going to be faster for you. You know, get that flow where you're periodically hitting your Quicksilver Flask and kind of like alternating between the skills that give you really high mobility. If you're playing a bow build, I really like combining dash with blink arrow and, you know, bringing back that second wind support. Being able to go between a dash into a blink arrow into a dash into a blink arrow is actually really, really nice for like insane mobility because they're both recharging their cooldowns kind of simultaneously. So you can go really, really, really fast. Find something that just gets you into this just like, all right, you're tapping one key, you're tapping the next key. And then once you hit that state, right, then like, you know, you become one with the game a little bit more and it just becomes more fun to play. If you can ever fit something like Leap Slam, Shield Charge, or Whirling Blades in that doesn't have a cooldown, or if you have some crazy super fast build like Lightning Warp, that can be really, really good for just like night and day being able to move around the map. Other thing is just like make sure you can deal with like freeze, chill, and things like temp chains. All right, and next up, I think this is probably like the single most important thing. The person who wrote the comment that inspired this video, they said, I'm using an uber strict filter, but it's still taking me 5 minutes per map. A lot of content creators have put videos out like, here's how you tune your loot filter, please do this. But yeah, no one's interested in watching those videos. If you are interested, I'll link my playlist, the 2 loot filter videos that I made. But many people are not interested in that, so I'm going to sneak that into this video. It's really one of the most fundamental, important things about playing Path of Exile well, whether you're in trade or solo self-found, and I think a ton of people neglect this skill. I know, learning a third-party tool can be really annoying. You know, we have POB, we have Filter Blade, we have Craft of Exile, but yeah, if you're a PoE player, you gotta suck it up. That's just the nature of the beast. All right, I'm gonna drag you guys kicking and screaming into at least learning the fundamentals about tuning your loot filter, but we're gonna do this as quickly as possible. So I'm gonna start on very strict here. I actually think uber strict hides a couple things that you should probably never hide. And so I think the best thing to do is start on very strict and then tune it for yourself from there. First thing that you wanna do when starting off with uber strict is I just like to type in zone level 83. I like to click enable all right here, and then just start clicking generate loot. And wait until you see things that you never want to show, right? Like a Stygian Vise. At this point in the league, at time of recording, we're a full month into the league. Stygian Vise is worth absolutely nothing. Never, right? Like an uninfluenced Stygian Vise, even if it's like eye level 86, that's like 2 or 3 chaos. No one cares about that whatsoever. You are wasting your time by ever picking this up and even putting it in a dump tab. What we do is we click disable. We keep clicking generate loot here. Individual blessed orbs. I don't really care about any of those. Chisels, chromes, alterations, these type of things. We're going to hide all these, the individual ones. I think most of these things, this is kind of like a personal choice, whether you want to hide these or not. What I would recommend is drag the ones that you know you're still going to want to pick up. Like, you know, okay, we care about a Faster's Lens. You know, maybe I use a lot of Orbs of Scouring and Vol Orbs. But the rest of these things, we're just going to hide them. And then find the ones here that you don't really care to pick up, like a Regal Orb. Who cares about that? You know, I can spend 1 Divine and buy more than I will ever use the entire league. Ritual Splinters, I don't care about those being on the ground, etc., etc. Same thing with like Scouting Reports. I'm never going to sell those. I don't care about those. Surveyor's Compass is worth less than 1 chaos. That should definitely not be showing up. Be very critical about the things that you're ever going to pick up. So we can start off with like a baseline filter here. We just kind of want to go down the line and do this for a while. Timeless Vol Splinters, I don't care about these. T2 Legion Splinters, I'm never going to pick those up. Any map below T14, I don't care. I'm going to hide all of these. So the big recommendation here is save this so it's on the cloud, so it will automatically sync with your character. You do have to manually click refresh sometimes. It can take a few minutes to update, but I do strongly recommend having your own filter. It'll be in blue text here, saved on the cloud on your account. So let's take a default very strict filter here and then go back into the map that I already cleared to take a look. Single Orbs of Regret. Do I really ever care about that? Maybe not. Same thing with chromes here. Here's a thing to be really critical of is like a stack of 5 chromes. If we look in my stash right now, I have 2,300 chromes just because I've been a little too lazy to actually just turn chromes off. How many clicks of even 5 chromes was this to get? That was 461 individual clicks. And if we say that that averaged out to about 1 second per, that is 7.6 minutes that I've spent picking up chromes. And it's probably a little bit worse than 1 second per item that I end up like sometimes backtracking and picking up. And that's only the stacks of 5 or more. And so like, let's really break this down and think about that critically, right? If this averages out to be 7 maps that I could have run, and if we look at the Elk and Go video from yesterday, I was averaging about 35 chaos pure profit per map. So that is 35 times 7. That's an opportunity cost of 245 chaos that I lost by picking up those 2,300 chromes. I really think the opportunity cost is actually worse than that, but we're just, you know, as always, trying to like round down here a little bit. And look at this. Looks like the market is actually kind of sane and kind of like following along my rough math here, where the going price for 2,100 chromes is 280 chaos right now. So they get a little bit of profit. But if you think about the added mental and mechanical strain from picking up all those chromes versus just doing a single purchase, if you ever need 2,000 chromes, 200 to 300 chaos, you will never need chromes again for the rest of the league. And the amount of cumulative time that you spend is just going to pay so many more dividends than ever picking that stuff up. You know, conversely, if you're picking all of those things up and then you're going through the extra effort of listing them and selling them and all of the trading and all that, I think you are just straight up losing money, even if you're trying to sell them in bulk. You know, I really want to hammer home that it's super important to like not even not pick up items that you know you're not going to sell or you're ever going to use, but also just make sure they're hidden and just like full out of sight, out of mind doesn't remotely slow down your experience while you're mapping. So with the very strict filter, we see a sulfur flask here and we see a convoking wand. Even if I go to an uber strict filter, we still see the sulfur flask that there's just no value in picking up, right? And if I go to uber plus strict, okay, that's finally hidden. But I think uber plus strict is probably just hiding like a ridiculous number of things. Absolute best case, they go in my stash and I never look at them again. Look at this. This is an item that is best case worth 1 chaos. It's just not, right? Like that will never, ever, ever sell. It's like crazy that it shows up on the loot filter. You're going to see it. Like even if you're mapping around, you're going to see it. You might slow down, glance at it to read what that item is, and then keep going. That is already harmful enough. Even worse is this convoking wand, because the convoking wand here even shows up as an icon on the map by default. And this is on the very strict filter. Theoretically 1 chaos, but obviously this item will just never, never, ever sell, especially since an icon on the minimap that is incredibly harmful. You know, you don't want to hurt your gains. This is like doing too much. This is straight up like doing too much cardio as a bodybuilder. Here's a really cool thing that you can do though. Hit Control Alt and C. That will, as we know, copy an item into text into your clipboard here. And then what we can do is go to Filter Blade, paste it in here, and then the item will show up right here as you're in Simulate. And then you can directly just hide it and make sure that it is removed. And then you can go to save it to the cloud, keep going. Make sure to refresh your filter after about 5 to 10 minutes. And just have this flow where as you're going through a map and you see these items that you know you don't want to see, immediately, as soon as you see an item on the ground that you're not picking up, go to Filter Blade, go in here, hide those items. Don't let them distract you and slow you down. All right, that's as much filter blade learning as I'm going to try to force into your guys' heads. But please, if you do want to optimize your time, your efficiency, your fun, honestly, please just, learn how to interact with loot filters. And if you really don't want to do that, you can always follow my loot filter on my account. It's fully public. I do tune mine a little bit more aggressively than many other people. So, buyer beware there. So next up, please pre-roll your maps. This will save you way more time than you can imagine. So what I want to do if I'm going to run my maps is I'll usually do 5 or 10 at a time. Click your chisels on all of them at the same time. Use your alchemies on all of them. And then I just use chaos orbs. And I look for mods that are bad for me. You can use Awaken PoE Trade to just press Control M. You can actually set certain mods by clicking on it to either warn you, be good, be bad. And you can just kind of constantly press Control M and go down the line and see if any of them are bad. And that's actually just the preferred way that I do that. Some people will mass roll in like a quad tab and they'll use regexes down here, type reflect, stuff like that you can totally do that. I'm very happy just rolling 5 or 10 at a time and actually just using like the nice Awaken PoE Trade interface here. I'm very happy with that. So whichever way that you really prefer, but just by rolling all of your maps here in one go, and then just, you get into that flow where you run 5 or 10 maps at a time, that can make a really, really big difference for just being a bit more efficient there. Next up, don't kill every monster. The footage that I put at the beginning of this video is really instructive and important. Please look at how I played that. Besides backtracking once for going to the lake, I don't believe I backtracked a single other time in the rest of the map. Now, if I missed like a gigantic pack of monsters, maybe I would go back, kill them, and then keep going. Generally, what I'll do is I'll go forward, and then I'll do a quick little spin. I'll go forward, quick little spin. Let's see. And if we take a look, we type remaining, 15 monsters remaining. Honestly, really, really good clear, all things considered. If you really think about it, and your maps take 60 to 90 seconds to run, really think about how many monsters you're killing per hour. Right? And backtracking for a single pack of monsters or 2 packs of monsters that might be around like an awkward corner or something. If that takes 10 seconds, that is 1/9 of an entire map that you could run. Every second does end up mattering. Now, I understand playing super high stress, super perfectly highly optimized can be really annoying and it can detract from the fun. I'm not trying to stress that. It's about building good habits. And good habit building is really about like slowly sanding down those rough edges for bad habits that you may have. Just try to be a little bit thoughtful about what you're doing as you're playing here and there. If you really want to go all out, you can record your gameplay and review that and do all that type of stuff. The biggest way to like really, really improve and be critical of yourself. Feel free to do that if you want to. But I'm just really trying to encourage you to like be a little extra thoughtful about how you're clearing. Like if you do something and it feels like a little awkward, like, oh, maybe that was like a weird corner to go around and there are only like 5 monsters there. Why did I do that? Why did I actually go and kill those monsters? I probably shouldn't have done that. Was there a visual cue that could have told me that was just a bad choice? And I can turn that into a habit so it's no longer conscious and you can just map a little bit better. And then the last one here is only do content that is worth your time. I mentioned this in the video yesterday, but I think it's really important to like understand the value that you're going to get by spending your time in specific content, right? There's something like Betrayal. Yes, I could engage with Betrayal and slowly put this together. This is my only Betrayal board the entire league. I haven't killed Katarina or anything. I've incidentally done a little bit of Betrayal just for some unveils and stuff. But since I haven't specced into it, I know that the value that I get out of this will be significantly decreased. And especially if I'm not doing my Ashling missions, I actually haven't done a single mission this entire league. It's going to show up so rarely. That little extra, it's all about things that pull you out of the flow. Similarly, I could be doing incursions, and I think incursions are actually really, really good right now. The Apex, if you get the ultimatum keys, they'll sell for multiple divines right now. But that's, besides the point. Normally in an incursion, if that weren't the case, I'm not going to be able to level up the architects to level 3. The chance to get a corruption chamber is not going to be that good. And if you think about it, you are competing price versus time-wise with the people that are doing the optimized strategy. So the price and the economy on the trade site is going to be based on people that are doing it optimized. So if you are doing the same content without the points put into it, without it being optimized and being really focused, you are just straight up losing money because all of the other people are going to be undercutting you, price versus time wise. And it's very good to be conscious of that for like the content that you're doing. Since my tree here is only spec'd into Harvest and Expedition, mostly focusing on the Eldritch altars, that is really the only content that I do. I will skip all Abysses, all Blights, all Incursions, anything that takes extra time. I skip all Legions, all that type of stuff. Skip that content that doesn't work for what you're doing. All right, that's it for me today. Hopefully these tips were helpful for people. As I said, this is really focused towards beginners that don't know any of this type of stuff. As I said just a few minutes ago, I really want to make sure that the most important thing is you're focusing on what's fun for you. If you want to just dawdle around, slowly kill things, wait for your Summon Reaper to go out there and kill that one monster, there is nothing wrong with that. But if you're looking at the people that are talking about making 3, 5, or 10 divines an hour, these are the types of things that those people are doing. They are not just kind of casually Elkin going without, optimizing their mechanics and how they're playing and their strategies. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Thank you, as always, to all of you guys. If you want to see more stuff like this, you can sub to the channel if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine. Huge, as always, thank you to all the patrons, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Goodbye.